VocalEye Almost Live Zoom, Mystical Brain, hosted by Amy Amantea, with special guests Gen Kelsang Rigden.
Welcome to this VocalEye Almost Live event. My name is Amy Amantea. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Associate Director here at VocalEye. I'm your host for these online events, these almost live events, we call them, and I'm a member of the blind community. And I just want to always, as I do every week, thank you all for joining us in this space. Thank you all for the lovely testimonials you share, the letters that come in, the audio messages that come in, your hard-earned dollars that you send in. You know, some folks have signed up to be monthly donors at $5 a month, and that is so helpful because every donation that comes in and every monthly donor is recorded, and it goes to our funders to show that this programming is important and recognized, and people are behind the work that we're doing and that we're making a difference. So if you have capacity, wonderful. If you don't, those letters go a long way to show our donors and supporters that we're making a difference in how we all access arts and culture. So if you happen to be watching this episode on our YouTube channel, you can also enjoy and engage in all of the things that we're doing. So you can like and subscribe. We love that. You can also share our links. You can sign up for our newsletter. There's lots of things that you can do. I also want to let folks know that if you are going to be watching this on our YouTube channel, the actual film will be cut out of the recording, and you can find that by Googling the National Film Board of Canada. So just NFB and the Mystical Brain, and you can find that by doing that. And we'll try and put some information in the description of the YouTube so that you can easily find out how to access the film. And then we hope you come back and join us here on this YouTube link so that you can follow the discussion afterwards, as we're going to have a guided meditation following the film. VocalEye is broadcasting to you all from the traditional and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, in particular the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. So as I just shared with you, tonight we're going to do a collective experience in watching this film, but also in a guided meditation, which I will say I have never actually done, except maybe if you count some of those times in high school when we did it kind of as a theater exercise. But I'm not going to count that because that is not a practice, that's a once-off. And for a different context. So we have a special guest joining in our space, and I will introduce them in a moment. And in inspiration of tonight's event, I thought that I would inquire about how Indigenous peoples and traditional approaches to meditation and you know, if meditation was important in Indigenous traditional cultures, and just learn a little bit about it, because I really didn't know anything. So I just want to share with you a little bit about what I read and what I learned, so that you also will have maybe learned a little bit of what I learned, I guess. So I think maybe we understand that different worldviews can have similar intentions. So I just want to start with that. So while the word, quote, meditation wasn't traditionally used, many Indigenous nations across Turtle Island, which is North America, practiced forms of contemplative stillness, focus, and spiritual connections. These were rooted in relationships with land, ancestors, community, and the natural world. In many communities, stillness and silence were always to listen to nature, to spirit, to the wind, water, and the voices of ancestors. The goal was to balance. And rationalize and be in relation with harmony. As a community practice, and in reflection and meditation principles. So one of the things that many Indigenous peoples did in traditional practices, which you may all have heard this term in movies, but I want to read to you what I learned about this term, was a vision quest. And a vision quest, often practiced by Lakota people, but by many Indigenous cultures, was when a young person or spiritual seeker would spend several days alone on the land, fasting and praying. The focus was deep listening to dreams. They were listening to dreams, they were listening to the earth, and they were listening for their spirit guides. This was not a, quote, meditation for relaxation, but a practice of revelation and humanity, and also a practice in humility as well. So I wanted to offer that as we go into tonight's film, as we go into our guided meditation practice, which will be generously led by our special guest this evening, who I will introduce in one moment. So a big welcome to you all on Wednesday, October the 22nd, 2025. We are tonight offering you our Almost Live event number 196. Is anybody counting how close we are to our 200th episode? 196. We're really proud to present this film tonight from the National Film Board of Canada, and really grateful for their partnership in offering these documentary films with audio description. This one is entitled The Mystical Brain. And our special guest tonight, before I introduce our special guest, I just want to let you all know that this film has some French speakers in it, and so the subtitles will also be read, so you may hear the French in the background, but there's English speakers, French speakers, and audio description happening at the same time. So if you're wondering why I can hear language in the background, I'm sure you all are familiar with that. So let's get on to our special guest. Rigden, are you here with us?
Yes, I am.
One square in its mind. Let's bring in Rigden. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
I'm so delighted.
Nice little intro.
Well, I always say this to our folks because I like to try and cater my land acknowledgements so that they're relevant to what we're doing in the space. It's not always easy to try and do that, but I just think it makes some sense for me, and it prompts me to learn something new as a settler person. There you go. That was my learning for what we're about to experience tonight. But let's learn a little bit about you, my friend. What can you share with us about who you are as you're new to our space?
Well, thank you for that. My name is Gen Kelsang Rigden, but you can call me Rigden for short. I've ordained as a Buddhist nun in the new Kadampa tradition in 2004. So it'll be almost 22 years next year. So I'm on 21st year. And I started going to just a class on meditation 25 years ago. And I liked it so much, I just never stopped. And then I got inspired to be able to help basically flourish the teachings and the methods of how to meditate that are geared for everybody, not just Buddhist. So our tradition particularly is we call modern Buddhism. And so all of our classes are geared for everyone. You don't have to have any background. You don't have to have any experience, even your high school experience. You don't need any of that either. And you just basically what we try to teach at our center. We have one in the East Van near Trout Lake. We have a center there. And at that center, we just help people find some peace within their heart and use meditation and different teachings. But for myself, I've taught internationally in the US, the Caribbean, and Canada, and several provinces. And I was asked just recently this year to come to Vancouver to help develop the center. So I'm actually in the management role right now to help develop so more people will be able to come and enjoy the meditations and the teachings. So I do a lot of product development, but also I do a lot of teaching when I can. So this is a great opportunity because I'm not on my computer. Well, I am on my computer. I like to say I'm not on my computer, but I'm not.
Oh, and you might have frozen on us a little bit.
You're looking at spreadsheets.
There you go. I was going to say you just froze a little bit, but that's because you have spreadsheets.
I think we froze. Yeah, spreadsheets. So anyway, so I'm very happy to be a part of this group, and I'm very fascinated. About the film, and I'm excited to share some a meditation afterwards. And if you have any questions about anything, I'm happy to try. I don't know if I'll know all the answers, probably not, but I could at least explore them. And I think that's probably about it about me. I don't know.
I would say, as a human being, we're not supposed to know all the answers. So don't put too much pressure.
Nobody does.
Nobody does, and I think it's art is supposed to, ask us to engage with it, ask questions of each other, invite
Exactly.
conversation, all of those kinds of things.
Oh gosh,
Yeah. And I can before we
it's
start the film, can
fantastic.
you
Yeah, for sure.
maybe give me a little background about how becoming a Buddhist nun, what that experience was like, and
Mm.
how that happens?
Well, we're in tradition. Um, you request ordination, and for you even to think about ordination, you'd have to know what that is. We don't have like a checklist, but it's basically in your mind. You're usually studying with another teacher, and you get inspired, and you ask questions to that teacher. Our tradition and Buddhism in general, and I think most traditions and other religions, it's like an oral transmission, a lot of it. Just really, why would you even have a wish? Because to be truthful, being an ordained nun, in Vancouver, in Canada, North America, in the East, or the West, sorry, it's not very common because, yeah, just the lifestyle is very different. It's very similar though, because as a modern Buddhist nun, we do things that maybe we couldn't have done a long time ago, like 2,600 years ago, when Buddhism was founded by the founder Buddha Shakyamuni. Now, that's a long time ago, where even nuns and women weren't ordained, and culturally, it's very different as a woman being ordained. And I would say even now, because a lot of the movies and different things, it's always the monks. You don't see too many Buddhist nuns. It's like it's generally the Buddhist monks that are traditionally in these roles, but our tradition is very modern, and that the person who's overseeing the whole tradition worldwide, because we are international group.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm talking too much. I'm freezing up. But
Uh,
the person who's our general spiritual director is a nun, so which is quite interesting, just in general.
that this is fascinating to me. And for folks who may not have the opportunity to see what you're wearing, can you maybe do a little bit of an image description and describe what you're wearing?
There's certain parts of my robes, they call them, and the one thing that I have, it looks like a blanket. It's kind of like, or a shawl. It goes across my left shoulder, and that's we call a Zen. It's actually I think spelled Tsen, like a Zen, and that's to help concentration. So for meditation, we need all the help we can get. So we want to use this. So when I'm leading a meditation or receiving a meditation, that's part of my ordained robe. So when I ordained, that was one of the robes I needed to keep close to me.
Mm.
And then my donka is my shirt. So I don't know, it's kind of hard to see, but it kind of, you probably recognize it if you've seen any Buddhist movies. Actually, the movie we're going to see, you'll see the Dalai Lama and you'll see other monks wearing very similar. So we're not part of the same lineage, but I mean, we are kind of, but because we're Western, where we're not a Tibetan. So it looks like a Tibetan robe, but in truth, it's a lineage robe. So we practice the teachings that were founded thousands of years ago. And so these robes are designed on that. So it's like a really old design, and it's representing many different things. Mostly, it's to help eradicate our ignorance. Is like the sleeve of it, and it
Mm-hmm.
has this like blue brocade around it, like a ribbon, and that's actually try to um, cut through our ignorance. So what we try to do is be able to increase our compassion and wisdom, and so through meditation, we are able to have a mind that's open to be able to develop more good qualities, especially compassion, but most important is wisdom, actually, to actually eradicate why we're experiencing these problems, and actually not just relaxing, as you mentioned earlier. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just a relaxation, it's actually becoming a truth, to be able to eradicate our problems. And so that's one of them. And then the kind of the collar is like a through the jaws of I guess we can say this online, death.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I put them on, I'm supposed to remind myself that this could be my last breath, and to try to really spiritually kind of think about that. What am I going to do for my last day, my last breath, my last thought? And so it's helping us. And then you can't see it, but it looks like a maroon skirt, but it's called a sham tab. And it has a fence around the bottom of it and the top of it. It's like a circle. It's a circle. So you have to, when you put it on, you put it over your head, like, and then fold it, and you do several different folds, and then put a belt on it. But that's supposed to represent moral discipline. And the reason why we put it over our head, we don't want to step over our moral discipline. So, when you're finished for the day, you take it over your head. You never kind of like let it drop and walk over it. And so that's an important thing to remind as an ordained person or anybody, just to try to not break our moral discipline, which is yeah, many different facets. But I think in general, it's just being a good person, mainly, trying to keep our morals and not harming others. But it's also could be moral discipline of our practice as well.
And you've got some yellow on you as well. What is that significant of?
Yeah, so that's like a saffron color. And when I'm giving a teaching, I would put a saffron robe over as well, which is representing wisdom. And so when you look at the two colors, the maroon or red and the yellow or saffron is like wisdom and compassion. And so again, as part of our practice. And from what I understand, and this isn't in any of our books I study, but I heard that the colors of the flowers near the monastery many thousands of years ago. So it could be purple, it could have been purple, it could have been green, but it just happened to be those two colors representing compassion and wisdom.
Wow. That's really cool stuff. I mean, I obviously many folks in the space might know that saffron as a spice is one of the most expensive spices in the world because of the
Exactly.
flower and the stamen that it comes from. So it
Yeah.
totally makes sense that it's
Hmm.
been used to dye fabrics. I don't
Yes,
know. Do you know what
exactly.
flower makes the maroon color?
That I don't know.
I might have to ask
Yeah,
Google while we're watching the movie because now I'm fascinated. I just want to know because I have no
I
idea.
know.
Anyways,
Yeah, it's a good
um,
question.
there you go. We're full of them in this space. I ask you. I tell you.
Exactly.
All right, my friend. I know you've already watched this film and you're going to join us again to watch it. So
Mhm.
I thank you for the time that you're sharing with us. Any last things you want to say before we jump into our film?
I just think you just enjoy the film and just, yeah, as we're kind of watching or listening to, seeing how we can relate it to our own life. And that's what I think all films are trying to do. How do it can relate to me and how can I navigate that? And so I've been contemplating on it. So I'd like to see it again to even deeper. Yeah.
Awesome. I would love to hear your thoughts on it after we come back in 52 minutes, roughly, after watching the National Film Board of Canada's documentary film with audio description called The Mystical Brain. Rick, when you're ready, hit play.
Due to copyright restrictions, this feature presentation has not been recorded. Please check below for more information, including links to the material if it is hosted elsewhere.
All right, folks, we are back. That was The Mystical Brain, brought to us by the National Film Board of Canada. So, big round of applause for that. I'm going to bring back our special guest.
I'm here.
Ah, there you are. Wonderful. I'm curious about your reflections. You mentioned at the top of our engagement today that you watched it once. You're watching it again because you had some things that you were thinking about, and I certainly have some things. But what are your initial reflections?
Hmm. It's well done. And it was quite a long time ago, too. I think it was 2006. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure a lot of things have even advanced since that came about. But I think it was very interesting, I guess you could say, because I know for as a Buddhist nun, we meditate on our mind and get to know our mind quite a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what actually interested me initially coming into the meditations, is to how to understand my own mind. And for that part, I find it very interesting. it seemed for me, as because I've been practicing for 25 years in a tradition of meditation and exploring my mind, I find it was interesting because it focused a lot on the brain, which for us as meditators, we don't even think of our brain during the meditations. It's just kind of like it's not really a thing,
Mhm.
because we believe that our mind is not our brain, but it's definitely connected. Like,
Mhm.
of course, so in that point, it seemed interesting scientifically, because I do have a science background, so I did find it very interesting, and the experiments, and the probes in the head and all that stuff. It was with the Buddhist monk, and I find that interesting for sure. Um, but on another point, I guess what I've been practicing is we're not really even thinking about the brain too much. Even it's interesting because our mind uses our brain just like it uses all parts of our body. So, because it's an organ of our body,
Mhm.
it's like it kind of functions. So I find it interesting because I've been studying a lot about this, and we have a book called How to Understand the Mind. And the first thing that's stated according to a Buddhist view is that the mind is not the brain at all. So, but it's associated, it functions. So we have three layers of the mind that we study a lot and meditate on. The gross minds, which is maybe what they were referring in the movie as the human state.
Mhm.
And then the mystic brain is probably, I'm just trying to think a correlation of the words they used, is maybe our subtle mind, like our dream minds is a subtle mind, and our meditation mind is a subtle mind. But the gross mind is what we usually deal with every day. What we're thinking about, we're going to eat, where we're going, where we're reading, listening, seeing, like even the eye awareness, we would say is coming from the mind through the eyes. But if you had no physical eyes,
Mhm.
the mind couldn't work with anything. Like there's nothing to work with. So it's kind of like, but the mind itself is using the parts of our body, and the brain, of course, has a big function of our whole body to make it work and to be able to cognize and understand things. So definitely we need the physical brain for the gross minds. But I would say that's probably we're at the end of it, because then the subtle mind is like when we're dreaming, it would be, it's a subtle mind, and you know maybe we can't walk very well in our human existence, in our gross minds or gross world, but in dreaming we could be running, and we could be
Yeah.
flying, we could be,
Yeah.
that's our subtle, that's the potential of our mind, that's actually more kind of real than the gross minds. So it's like, so it's interesting, because we say it as levels of our mind. And then we also believe that there's even a very subtle mind, which is what we don't, and maybe that's what they're talking about, is that's where we go into a deep meditation and tap into not even like the subtle, it's like it's extremely peaceful, it's extremely relaxed, and the cognition of it is not any physical feeling or any sensation. Even in dreams, we have sensations. We're smelling things in our dreams. We're tasting, we're seeing, we're running, there's a lot going on. But our very subtle mind, there isn't that. It's just this experience of extreme peace. I don't know if that's a word, extreme peace. So kind of like a radical thing, but it's peaceful and very relaxed. It's the ultimate peace. So in meditation, we can tap into that, but it's actually very rare. You'd have to be quite a skilled meditator, because that very subtle mind is what we believe is maybe what they're talking about. The soul would go to another life. So it's like that's the root mind that we have. And then the subtle mind is called subtle because it's not as easy to find. And then the very subtle is almost impossible to find. And then the gross minds are easy to find. We could find our anger or jealousy or hatred, our physical things of seeing things or feeling things, touch, tactile, all our senses. are in the gross mind. So yeah, in that way, I find it very interesting because we do think of the brain to one extent, but we're more interested in the other minds because those minds we can tap into our meditation and make some change. The gross is all, I mean, it's not impossible to do changes because we want to read or listen to things to actually help motivate us. And you were mentioning earlier about art, it's very good to be, inspired and enjoy, beautiful things or even just challenging things to help us grow our capacity. And so, but then we would use that subtleness and very subtle mind to really focus completely, like a single pointedness, that we're not distracted by other things. And that's where we believe is where we can really change and make progress. But it's a practice. We're not obviously some meditations we might not get there because we're distracted by other things, of course. But so the brain itself, just going back to the experiments and that, I found it very interesting. But I would say we're not that interested in an organ of our body, actually. I mean, it's important, of course. Obviously, if we don't have a brain, we can't really, you know, do a lot of stuff like listen.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're using
Yeah.
our gross minds.
All the
You
functional stuff.
know, exactly. And I've had experience personally. My mother had a traumatic brain injury, and I really actually deepened my practice through this. That she's passed away now, but through this experience of understanding the mind and understanding the brain, without parts of those brains, the body will eventually not be able to function. So it was very clear to me. And I saw the different stages of that. So without that part or parts, um, we have nothing to work with.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a link to the mind is like uh, it's like a person who has eyes but no legs. And so it's like understanding things is with the mind, but if you don't have the legs to move your mind, you're unable to do that. So, for example, if you don't have the brain or parts of maybe even parts of your eye in this context, the mind cannot actually move towards that because it doesn't have the legs, because it's the winds that are actually going to all the different parts of our body. And if there's an obstruction, either through a lack of a part of our body, then you can't do it. So, like paralyzed people obviously can't walk, or and it's because the mind is happy to go there, but it doesn't have the winds or the legs to get there or use that part. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe it's a bit
Does that mean that
technical, but
I think this is not what you mean, but you don't mean to say that folks that are disabled can't meditate or can't reach.
ooh, I'd say
Yeah.
the opposite of that.
Ah,
I'd
gotcha.
say the opposite. Yeah. I'd say because it's not your body. Your mind
Right.
is not your body. So therefore, it doesn't matter what you have, doesn't matter what gender you are, doesn't matter what race you are, doesn't matter what size of body, anything. It doesn't matter because it's the mind.
Yeah.
The only example I meant is like with my mom in that particular position, she lost a lot of her brain and she functioned for a while, actually 3 years. But then eventually her body broke down. And so it's just someone who's disabled through an accident or through birth, you know, um, that mind can't hold on if the body deteriorates, I guess you could say, you know, with that situation. Obviously, if it's other things like you could obviously, if you um, I don't know, have other disabilities, you're still able to meditate because your mind is clear. My mom,
Right.
because of her brain not working and the mind not working, then it was hard for her, I would say, even to meditate.
Right.
And that would be a fear for me. Like Alzheimer's is another thing that my dad has the final stages of Alzheimer's. And so I saw two different situations with an injury and then with a brain disease. But it still kind of helped me understand, my own fate. And, we don't know. Anything could happen in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but we do know we have our mind and we can continue using that as best as we can for as long as we can until our next adventure.
You know, it's funny, and I'm going to offer you the opportunity to do the meditation in a moment, but I just saw my eye doctor the other day, and I've been without my sight almost for 20 years now. So it's been a long time for me, but every time I go in to see them, they take pictures of my retina, and they always say to me, you know, your retina's in pretty good shape. Like, we don't see necessarily a lot of damage to your retina, so we're not really sure why you have so many blind
Mm,
spots, why you can't see. And and
mm,
I'm like, well, like I'm not the ophthalmologist, so.
yeah,
And then they always say, well, the retina is part of the brain. So, and so
okay, yeah,
now I'm thinking about the retina being part of the brain, but also part of the mind.
yeah, exactly. Yep.
And where there could be a block. Listen, I'm not suggesting that I can heal my own sight by getting to, but I'm curious about that connection between the
Yeah.
function of the brain and the retina, and
Yeah.
because when I look at things, sometimes I'm like, yes, I can see the leaves, but I know that I can't. It's a memory thing. It's a
Yeah.
mind thing
Yeah.
because I still walk into the
Exactly.
door that's right in front of me
Yeah.
that wasn't there the yesterday in that position, right?
Yeah.
Um, so there's no doubt about the fact that I'm not seeing correctly,
Mhm.
but it's an interesting thing for me how the memory, how the mind taps into things that I have seen before and sort of fills in the memory gap, even though my retina is not necessarily getting that same picture. So
Exactly.
it's an interesting correlation that you've shared with me, and I'm going to be pondering on that for a while. Um,
Mhm.
so, my friend, what do we need to do to prepare ourselves for the meditation you're going to offer?
Yeah. This was two meditations I was thinking of, and I can only do one. So I was going to do one called Body of Light. And it's basically because I think we mentioned that. Oh, yeah, you had mentioned that just before we began about the Aboriginal approach of, contemplating experiences or, insights and stuff like that. Where this is a little bit different because the main reason why we can't meditate is our body gets in the way, to be truthful. Like sitting, so we want to be in a comfortable position for sure. As but I wouldn't suggest laying down unless that you absolutely have to. Reason being because you'll probably fall asleep and go
Mhm.
into the subtle mind, and then you'll have your own journey, but you won't be into the meditation anymore. That's fine if you wish to do that because it is late, and I heard there might be some people in the East Canada that want to fall asleep. But as a meditator, that's our biggest obstacle, or one of the biggest obstacles, is falling asleep and distractions. So distractions as you're just thinking about the things, because when we get into a state where we're relaxed and we're not focusing on anything, which I'd like to do this meditation where we kind of remove in our mind, our body, and then just sit with our mind. So there's nothing else there. And so I guess to prepare would just kind of think, okay, how am I going to be relaxed during it? And it's totally okay if you move a little bit. I know there's some maybe as you get more advanced, you want to try to limit the moving because that's another distraction. But it's okay. All you do is just gently but firmly come back to your meditation when you physically, feel something or you need to move. We're not going to like sit in a position that's making you distracted, for
Mhm.
example. Like you don't have to be cross-legged. Some people are comfortable in that, but if you're not comfortable, it's probably better not to do it while you're meditating because that's all you'll be thinking about is
Right.
I wish I wasn't crossing my legs. So forget that. Do that when you're not meditating, practice. So just find a comfortable position. That's our main thing. And you could, I mean, in general, what we try to do is just kind of focus inwardly. So gently closing the eyes, because even with, light coming in can be a bit of a distraction. But if you are feeling tired, it's okay to keep your eyes a little bit open to allow some kind of light to come in. Even if you're not focusing on anything, sometimes the light helps to um, relax you and
And
stuff
what
like
if you
that.
don't have light perception or are totally blind, or what
Yeah,
would you suggest?
exactly. And it's like if you're, oh, it's interesting. I would say another thing is your feeling. So if you're in a hot room, for example, you're more apt to fall asleep.
Mhm.
If you're in a loud room, you're apt to be distracted by the sound. And so, like, I'm right beside the SkyTrain, but I have noise cancellation on it. But if, sometimes that can cut the vibration but if you are feeling like in your meditation, if you're struggling to keep awake, you can actually take a layer off. Like let's say you have like a lot of, I don't know, socks and slippers and sweaters, and you start to feel a little bit sluggish. Just take those off, because your body heat, I find for myself, it does change when you're meditating. You might be okay when you begin, but then during it, it might be you're getting it's too hot or too cool. So we generally have like a shawl or something beside us, or a sweater if we get too cold, because again, you don't want to, you could go through it, and if you feel strong enough, your capacity is okay, meaning that you just shiver and it'll go away. That's one way. Or you could just put the sweater on and go back to your meditation.
Yeah.
So just being practical of, what we can. So I guess that would be, if there's no actual visual of light, then I would say, if you're feeling too hot, just kind of regulating, because this meditation, we're going to actually imagine our body's not even there at all. So there isn't any temperature if there's no body. There's no pain if there's no body. And again, we're working with our mind. So this is actually quite a profound meditation, which we would call part of our Mahamudra meditations, which is really getting to the point of meditation, which is experiencing a peace that you can't get through music, you can't get through tactile sensations, because again, those are all gross minds. They can help you to relax and help you inspire, but eventually you got to let that go as well, to experience the peace that's not being directed by a sound or a smell or a taste, that kind of stuff.
All right, so find ourselves a comfortable position, whatever that means for us.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And then you can keep your back straight if you're on a chair or a cushion, and you can keep your hands comfortable in your lap if you can. We usually put our left palm up and our right hand palms up as well, just sitting in our left and touching our thumbs slightly. That helps to keep concentration. But again, whatever is comfortable to you. I like it personally because as I wander in my meditation, my thumbs start to actually kind of like sag or separate. And it's okay a little bit, but then when it's like really gets it off my, maybe falls off my legs or something, then I know I'm not concentrating. um well, I guess I'm going to be, you may be distracted. I guess that's the thing. Either sleeping or distraction are the two things, that are a problem. So if this helps to keep some focus to your meditation.
okay.
And then, like I said, you can either close your eyes or leave them open. Either way is fine. And then, so we're going to just start by just regarding the body, just thinking about your body in your normal form. So, like your shape of your body. I'm just thinking of your skin of your body and your flesh, your bone. And then strongly imagine that all the contents of your body melt into light. So just use your imagination of just coming closer to your body by just feeling what it's normally like. And then slowly imagine all the contents of your body melt into light, and only leaving your skin like a shell. Imagine you're inside your skin, there's an empty like space, and you focus on the hollow body for a while. And when you feel distracted by a thought, imagine your body once again. Dissolve the contents till you get back to the hollow body. Again and again. You can go back to your meditation if you feel distracted. And just sit with this hollow body for as long as you can. And very light. Because we're so familiar with our normal appearances and experiences of our body and all the sensations and subtlety, these will tend to reappear, and you may lose the sense of the hollow body. Simply repeat the previous steps and strongly imagine all the contents of your body melt into light, leaving your skin and hollow shell. And you can imagine that your skin becomes completely clear and transparent with no physical resistance at all, just like a mirage. You imagine you have no physical feelings, no sense of weight or solidity, no physical sensations at all, just a peaceful experience of empty night space. This experience is your object of meditation. Try to remain focused on it for the remainder of the meditation. Observe this feeling, having no weight or solidity, no physical sensations at all, even just for a moment. And each time coming back again to this hollow body, The last few minutes, just enjoy this experience. This empty like space. When you're ready to rise from the meditation, just imagine your body resumes to its normal form. But try to remember this experience. So even though it returns to its normal form, it remains light and peaceful. Now you can relax your concentration of the meditation, arise from meditation.
Okay, I was on mute. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I was just writing to, I'm just going to write you too. It's probably very profound, whatever you were saying.
It's a blind moment thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for that offering and recognizing that it was just a few minutes of an experience. And I'm curious, for somebody who's been doing it as long as you've been doing it, how often and how long are your meditation sessions?
Mm. It's a good question because I think it depends on what I'm doing for the day.
Mm.
Um, I have a morning practice, and that's usually about an hour, but I don't meditate the whole time. It has to, because mainly meditations are, there's two parts to it. There's like a contemplation or analytical part, kind of like when we were visualizing our body melting. That's like the analytical, and then the placement meditation is when you're experiencing the effects of it, or like the empty neck space. That's like we're placing our mind just in one spot. And so that would be probably about 15-20 minutes of placement meditation. And then it depends on, like, sometimes it's twice a day, morning and night, which I like to say I do every day, but I can't lie because I'm taking
Yeah.
now. But for example, we went to a international festival in Arizona recently. So I was there for it's like there's about 1,200 people there, and we have meditations several times a day. So
Mhm.
it depends on we're doing retreat or not, or like, yeah, basically that's it. If I'm leading a retreat or being in a retreat or managing a retreat, you know, it all kind of comes with that. Because every class that we offer here has two meditations. one at the beginning to relax, and then one to contemplate what we discussed. So it's like a contemplation, getting to a state of mind. And so that's like whether it's an hour class or an hour and a half class, there's two meditations there. So it depends on how many I'm doing personally. Because I'm a manager of a temple, it's a little bit different because I would say I do more um, working meditation.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. It's a blessing and a curse
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
To
exactly. And I remember well, it's the nun I was describing. Her name is Genla Dekyon, and she once told me because I've been a manager and a teacher, and I kind of switch places all the time. So it depends on what's needed. I become a manager, and
Mhm.
then they need a teacher. I become a teacher again. So I've been doing that for the last 20 years. And one time she had just said, you can use your work as a meditation as well. And it's like you can be peacefully busy because
Ah, love that.
yeah.
That might have just changed my life. You saying that? Anybody in this space knows that that might be a really profound statement in my life.
We have these idea that we have to be sitting all day long to get an effect. And
Mhm.
those nuns that we were seeing, the Carmelites, I think they were called. I mean, they would probably do that all day, every day. But the modern world, it's almost impossible to do. And or maybe you could during retreat time,
Mhm.
but in a day to day, because what we're trying to do too in our tradition is we're modern Buddhists, so we're trying to use the technique in our daily life as well. It's not just in our meditation session, because if it was, we wouldn't be practicing at all. So what we're trying to do is use our work, and every time we get irritated or angry or jealous or attachment, then just identify that and come back to that peaceful state again through our work. It could be like, let's say we're doing things for people and people are, not really thanking us. And it's like, it's just a lot of work, but no one really cares. And so we could just think, okay, if we're getting those minds that's disturbing, just think, I'm cherishing them to make their life easier, and then that can actually calm your mind down during your work because we want to be able to continue work and we need time for meditate. Definitely, I can't say to forget about meditation. I know myself, the less I meditate, the more I need to meditate. So I know you have to find your balance, but it can't say that you can't bring it into your life, whether
Right.
it's work or family life. Even watching a movie, like I take in vows, like, not really to do meaningless activities. However, I can watch a movie like tonight
Mhm.
if it's meaningful, like if it's actually we're doing something for a purpose, not just escaping and that kind of stuff. And when I'm with my niece and nephews, watch a movie with them because I'm cherishing them as well. So kind of like being able to live a life that's more meaningful is more important actually than having rules of what we need to be doing at that moment and just letting go. And when we have an opportunity, then we could use our daily experiences in our meditation.
Right.
Like we could think, oh, I lost my mind there. Maybe I should work on something. And then in our meditation, we could think of that experience and then try to um, use an analytical meditation. Let's say it's anger, which is a big thing for most people. I became angry or irritated, even if no one noticed, but we know our
Mhm.
own mind, right? So maybe we're feeling something, then we sit down with that, maybe at a later meditation, and think, how can I switch this to patience?
Mhm.
Just contemplating maybe what they're going through. And, maybe I, I was irritated because I didn't get my wishes met. Why are my wishes so important, all the time? It's like, anyway, so we kind of use our human experience into our meditations as well. But during that interaction, we can become peaceful and busy. I guess that's where I
Right.
start with. Yeah.
Um, our folks that live in Vancouver, if they can't make it out to your temple or where you teach meditations, do you offer meditations online? Is that something that, I mean, we just did one, but that doesn't mean that's an active practice.
Oh, we do. Yes and no, I guess you could say, because
Case
we
by case
do.
basis.
Yeah, we have online. We actually Zoom.
Hmm.
All of our classes are on Zoom. However, it's only to members,
Right.
the Zoom part. In person, anybody can come. It's a little bit. I think it's basically to keep the connection at the center, where coming to the center, and if you're really interested, become a member, then you can get the Zoom. But one-offs, it's hard to know the context of the teacher, context of the space. You don't get the bigger picture, so it is helpful to be in person. So we always stress in person, but we offer it online. The only exceptions are when we have a big celebration, which we're having in November, actually, at our center. We're offering it online as well to anybody. And mainly because it's our annual event and we want more people to experience it. But you'd have to do the whole thing, which some people just want a night, then come in person if you just want to do one session. But if you want the whole package, you can do it online. And so we offer that as well. But we also offer in our tradition, I, I'm trying to think yet. I don't know how accessible it is. So it's been a really good experience for me just to kind of question how
Mhm.
we're offering our courses to people that maybe are impaired in some way. Um, I'm learning a lot just as a side note, kind of going all over the place. We have a member who their son is, I think he's in his 20s, and he's visually impaired. And he comes in and helps our classes. He just started doing that for like a month. So he comes and assists. And it's been really helpful just kind of understanding his world. And so
Mhm.
we were having a lot of conversations how to make it easier. Because one of the oral, I mean, hearing the teaching online, our audio is the most important. Video, to be truthful, isn't a big deal. It's
Yeah.
the audio, you know, because I guess it would have to say someone who can't hear. That's probably not a good thing to say. But what I'm just saying is like we have more emphasis on making sure the sound is really good. And we have also in our tradition called Modern Buddhism app that has podcasts on it and leads you through meditations, and that's open for everyone. You just search on your uh, apps page or Google Play or whatever, and just type in Modern Buddhism. It'll be a blue icon, and you'll see all of our guided meditations. They're about the same time as what I did here, maybe 11 minutes or so, or 10 minutes, and you can get guided meditations. But with that being said, I don't know how accessible it is. So that's good to me to test to see if you can just access it on, to navigate that page. I don't know. So
Well, we'll certainly circulate
yeah.
the information to our members. We do a follow-up
Hmm.
email, and we'll send folks the
Hmm.
information on the podcast and perhaps your event. Maybe folks would like to
Yeah.
tune into your
Yeah.
event, and if they find any barriers, they'll let us know, and we'll send that on to you for sure.
Exactly. And that's how we do. That's how we learn too with anything.
Yep.
Just seeing what yeah.
Yeah,
We try to do the best we can, but we don't know until we're in that situation.
that's right.
Yeah.
With that, my friend, I really want to thank you for spending your time with us.
Yeah,
This has
you're
been really a
welcome.
wonderful experience for
Yeah,
me. I
that's
hope others
great.
have had such a positive experience like I have and have taken in the value of what you've offered this evening. So thank you so much for joining us in the VocalEye
You're
space.
welcome. Yes, thank you very much.
Have
You
yourself
take care.
a wonderful evening, and I hope our paths cross again soon because I think I need
Yes,
to book myself.
definitely.
I think I need to be a member.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you all, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. Have yourself a lovely night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
VocalEye, vocaleye.ca. Special thanks to our funders, the Canada Council for the Arts, the British Columbia Arts Council, the Province of British Columbia, and the City of Vancouver.